Alright, so I'm at White Rock Lake. I've been here for about 2.5 weeks now, but this is my second time out. I'm shooting the Bubble Nebula. I'm inside my car, and it's about almost 11 o'clock at night. I'm gonna get about 2 hours worth of data tonight. How's that for focus? That's almost perfect there. I am shooting the Bubble Nebula as well as the Lobster Claw. I'm taking 5-minute subs right now. My guiding looks pretty decent. Could be worse. And here's what it looks like right now. I think this is just a 60-second shot, and we're gonna get our first sub in about 200 seconds or so. About 12:17 a.m. I'm about, well, not quite at my halfway point yet, but I'm getting there. There's still like 1 or 2 cars here in the park. I'm just curious what they're doing here. I don't think they're doing Astro like I am. All right, so it is my second attempt at imaging the Bubble and Lobster Claw Nebula. I'm actually out here on the rooftop of the parking garage of my hotel. And I'm in the middle of Dallas, so it's really bright out here. And here comes a car. In my previous Astro video, I showed you how I was powering my Astro rig, essentially running power through my car battery. And it seemed like a good idea at the time. I have my telescope connected to my cigarette lighter plug-in right here, so it's drawing power from the car battery. I'm hoping it doesn't drain the car battery. I don't think it will. So what happened was it drained the battery. At about 1:30 a.m., everything just shut down. I was actually on my laptop looking at the ASIAIR Pro app, and it lost power, and then my car wouldn't start. And I felt like an idiot because I was an idiot. I just had in my head that I figured the car battery would be able to power all of that for at least an hour or two. I think like back when I was a kid, we would go to these drive-in movies, and to listen to the movie, you'd have to tune your radio of your car to a certain channel to get the soundtrack. And so you basically just ran your battery up on your car for like a couple hours throughout the movie. And I figured, hey, if it can, run a radio to listen to a movie for 2 hours, why can't it power my Astro rig for the same amount of time? Well, the thing is, I'm pretty sure that a car radio does not take as much power as a telescope mount, a dedicated Astro camera, the ASIAIR Pro, and a guide camera. All that equals a lot of electricity. Long story short, I lost power. I had to call emergency roadside service, and it was like 1:30 a.m. So about 40 minutes later, the guy came and jump-started my car. So once I got back to the hotel, crawled in the bed, and thought about all my life choices that led me up to that moment. And the next morning, I ordered a portable battery. I should have just brought my Celestron Lithium Pro battery that I usually use out in the field, but I just didn't want to pack another thing that was also pretty heavy as well. I ordered another Celestron battery, not the Pro version, not even the version under that, but I bought, it's this Celestron, I think it's called the LT battery. It's supposed to run about 8 hours, but I think that's if you're just powering like normal Celestron go-to mount. So this will be actually a nice test to see how long this battery is going to last powering all of my equipment. If I can get a couple hours or even just an hour and a half out of it, I'll actually be happy. So that's where I'm at. Second attempt, trying to get a little bit more data on the Lobster Claw and the Bubble Nebula. So about 31 seconds left to my first 5-minute exposure. Guiding is not great right now. Okay. Not bad, not bad. See the bubble there? See the lobster claw. Doesn't look like my stars are trailing too badly. Looks like there's a little bit of amplitude right there. All right, all in all, not too bad. All right, it's Sunday, a couple of days after my imaging run at the parking garage of the hotel that I'm staying at. I've stacked that data with the data I got from the lake the night that my car battery died. I want to show you how I process that in PixInsight and see what we end up with. All right, so what we have here is the combined image from Deep Sky Stacker over the 2 nights of imaging that I did. It's a total integration time of 2 hours and 35 minutes. And I've already done a dynamic background extraction as well as a automatic background extraction. And now we're going to do some further processing on it. So next we're going to do a color calibration in PixInsight. Normally you can set the white and background references, but I find for this particular image, the default settings are just fine. So I'll just apply that without setting any kind of region of interest and let it process, and there you go. It's color calibrated, looks pretty good. Here's the before, and there's the after, and I'll zoom in and show you again the before and the after. Yep, looks good to me. I just want to quickly say that this is not meant to be a PixInsight tutorial at all. This is me just quickly processing the image to show you what I have. Okay, so there's lots of different ways to denoise an image. What I typically do is create a range mask. And then I use the convolution tool to kind of smooth out the edges. I'll apply that mask onto the image, and then I'll open up the multi-scale linear transformation tool and make my adjustments and denoise everything that way. And now I'll work on the background by inverting the mask and doing a curves adjustment to decrease the brightness, which will then hide a little bit of the noise. And once I'm happy with that, I'll do a histogram transformation to take this from a nonlinear to a linear image. Then I'll apply a mask and do an HDR multi-scale transformation to bring out detail in Nebula. And after that, I'll clean it up a little bit by doing TBG denoise. And just because I can't leave well enough alone, I'll probably do one more curves transformation to slightly adjust the brightness of the image before I wrap it up here in PixInsight. And that's basically it. I will save this off as a TIFF file, 16-bit, and I will bring it into Affinity Photo. I will do some final retouching. So in Affinity Photo, I'm not going to actually go through every single step. I'm going to just kind of give you an overall look at what I'm doing here. I typically start off with some levels and curves adjustments to bring out the brightness and contrast to the image. And then my final step is to do a star reduction. I used to use StarNet in PixInsight, but I found that it leaves a bunch of really weird artifacts that is really hard for me to process out. I'm sure a more talented person can handle that, but I'm not that talented or patient. All right, so in Affinity Photo, I'll select the stars via tonal range, and then I'll select highlights and expand the selection by a few pixels. I will then mask out the bubble so it doesn't include it in my selection. And then I apply a minimum blur, and that seems to produce some decent results. And then some final tweaks with brightness and contrast and sharpening, and voila. So, 2 imaging sessions and 1 dead car battery later, here are my results, for better or worse, of the Bubble and Lobster Claw Nebula with a cluster of stars thrown in for good measure. Well, astrophotography out on the road is hard, y'all, but it's also kind of exciting. It's where you sharpen your troubleshooting skills. And for me, this was my first fairly remote astro imaging session where I wasn't readily close to home or a home base. I made a lot of mistakes, but I also learned a lot from it. To me, it was worth it. Hope it was worth it for you to watch. Thanks for joining me in the Lone Star State. As always, wishing you clear skies ahead.